Hello again. This video is about Journal Citation Reports, or JCR, and we're going to talk about how it works and what it might do for you in relation to finding journals you might be interested in trying to publish in, and finding the validity or level of expertise of a journal. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get there. Here I am at the library homepage. I go down underneath the one search box to databases. From here I select J for JCR, and there I see it. Journal Citation Reports, also known as Insights. If I want to know more about this before I select it, I can roll over the little I and it tells me what's inside. From here I'm going to have to do my single sign-on and multi-factor authentication. And once I'm done with that, it brings me to this page. Journal Citation Reports, also known as JCR, has an updated interface and now, since 2020, includes data from the Arts and Humanities Citation Index, Emerging Sources Citation Index, and they also have some new metrics. There are two ways of searching JCR. First, you know the name of the journal. I'm going to look at 19th century literature because it is newly added from the humanities. It also demonstrates how this open search is not flexible. So this particular search is not as flexible as a Google search. If I didn't know the title used a hyphen, I might get stuck here. So let me show you how that works. 19th century literature, you can see the journal name here has a hyphen in its title. If I just started typing 19th century, notice how it doesn't come up as a selection, nor would it find it in the search. Also, if I used numbers, I get nothing because that's not the title of anything they have in their database. So it's important to think about that when you're searching a journal title specifically. You need to know the exact name of the journal. And if you don't, I recommend using Google to sort that out because Google has a much more forgiving search. So here we have 19th century. And this is the main entry page for a journal. Once inside, you will notice that unlike Cabell's and Ulrich's, there is no link to the journal's website, nor information about their submission policies or their rate of acceptance. You might think these highlighted elements are clickable or selectable. They are not. JCR does only what its name implies, and that is, it tells you about how often information in this journal has been cited. There's other ways and means we have for finding journal information. Ulrich's Web, which is a database that we have, is a great source for that. Whenever you see an element that says learn more, open it up. This will give us information on exactly what we're looking at and what it all means. So here they really highlight what is journal impact factor? How do I use the interactive chart? And all of this information, dense as it is, will explain to you how these metrics are working and how they're compiled. And it also gives you information about how they can be misleading because of, in some cases, the narrowness of the information they have. So JCR tries to be transparent about what it's doing. So once again, whenever you see an option to learn more and something doesn't make obvious sense to you, please select it and learn more. Since the humanities have just recently been added, there's not a lot of data to compare here. If I go down and I look at the years, they only have 2020 because that's all they've included in the recent index that they've acquired. But one thing to note is that while a journal is situated within an index, here, specifically the Arts and Humanities Citation Index, the citation count is made by looking through all the journals in JCR's whole database for that year. So if an article about physical science quotes an article from 19th century literature, it will be counted here, and that's the point. So it's not just looking total citations at the index it's in, it's looking at the entirety of JCR. Further down, we see percentages of open access allowance. We can see here 19th century has not developed a large OA profile yet. And the JCI tells us where our journal falls within its category. 19th century literature is 118 out of 194 in literature in the index we're talking about. Now we're going to look at another journal called Poetics. Poetics is another good example of what JCR can do and what it can show you when it has a lot of data to pull from. You can see it can give you trends. Here's a whole new graph, and it's giving you a line graph of the trends. It's giving you actual article titles, and if I select it, it tells me who wrote it, which volume it was in, where I can view it. They also have citing sources, the places that are citing these items. This article has a citation count of 14. It has been quoted in 14 different journals, and JCR has used that information to calculate this journal's Poetics performance. However, when we go to Google Scholar and we look at that article, Google Scholar tells us it's actually been cited by 65 different places. So then there's a couple of things at stake here. Are the journals or places that cited this article going to be found in JCR? Probably not. Let's start there. Number two, how often is JCR refreshing? So once again, these statistics are not perfect. They're giving you a general overview. And if you want to know exactly how they work and what's at stake and what their limitations are, selecting Learn More and looking at the overview and really digging deep into how they're doing the calculations is going to help answer those questions. But what I really want to know from JCR is, what are the stats on this journal as a whole? What does it mean to publish in this journal? And is it more likely that I am going to be cited, my article, if published in this journal, will be cited by others? Of course, increasing my impact factor. I personally think one of the most interesting things is to see who's contributing and from where. So the University of Amsterdam has the greatest contribution, 11, in the 3-year period. But the USA overall is where most of the authors come from in a 3-year period. Probably from the UC system and University of Chicago and NYU, etc. Going down, we see the eigenfactor. Notice it has more graphs because it has more information to tabulate. So we've looking at a particular title, and we dove a little bit into browsing journals and browsing categories. Let's see what happens when we go straight into it. Browsing categories gives us all of these listings. We select one to open it up, and we can see all of the granularity underneath biology and biochemistry. So if I'm interested in journals that deal specifically with biology, I select biology, and now I can see which index am I interested in. Clicking inside of one or selecting inside will tell me what these acronyms mean. But I can also select filter, look for the citation indices or indexes, and it will give me the names of the abbreviations here. Once inside a particular index, I can select and sort to see who has the highest number of citations. And now I'm browsing journals automatically. If I was looking for something that I didn't know had a category, I'd be better off using the filters first. For example, if I'm interested in Italian something, I can see what comes up with that word in the title. But if I was specifically interested in Italian literature, I might do better with the filter going into categories and looking down literature and finding literature romance, because that's where Italian literature would be. The note here is that there's not a lot of things here with Italian in them. So it's good to use the browse as well as the search to cover all of your bases. Finally, you can sign in with any Clarivate product, but this is still a little bit wonky. Here I'm signing in with my EndNote account, which should work across all Clarivate products. That's what they say. Unfortunately, some of these other options are still a work in progress. I have not been able to match my manuscript to work. It says that it will accept my EndNote ID and password, but the page times out. And it's been doing that since I've tried, and this is like week 3. So my guess is they're still working on it. So in sum, I highly recommend using JCR in tandem with looking up an article in Google Scholar, and above all, I recommend looking at the journal's website. Their submission policy will tell you a lot about their priorities. In relation to JCR's notes about who publishes within it, we can make educated guesses about whether a journal we are unfamiliar with is worth our time. Is it something we have an opportunity to publish in ourselves? Is it something we think might be reputable to quote from? But you always want to talk with your colleagues, your department chair, and if you are a student, talk with your faculty. People established in the field know what will work for assignments and for your profession. Reach out to me with questions and check my other videos about resources and evaluation, and have a good day.